Hi, my name is Liz Webb and I've been engaged by the New South Wales Government to collate groundwater data and information for sedimentary basins within New South Wales that are of interest to the coal seam gas industry. Information has been gathered from various sources: government, industry itself and academia. We have finalised the collation of information for 3 basins so far: the Gunnedah Basin, the Clarence-Moreton Basin and the Gloucester Basin, with other basins to follow. This presentation today focuses on the Gunnedah Basin. It's a bit of an overview. We'll go through some of the rights, where the coal deposits are and the rights to take water, some of the issues around water quantity, then we'll touch on some of the water quality concerns and the risks, and then we'll pull it together with some gaps and a summary that have been outlined by others and through this project. This map shows the sedimentary basins in New South Wales that have coal deposits in them. You can see the Gunnedah Basin in the north there, and you can see that it's part of the greater Sydney-Gunnedah-Bowen Basin that extends up into Queensland. The colour scheme on this map, you can see the older basins are coloured in the darker colours and the younger basins are in the hatching or the lighter colours. So who has the rights? This is a map showing the petroleum leases, or PELs as they are called, across New South Wales. And you can see that the colours there, they overlie where those coal basins on that previous map was. And you can see up in the Gunnedah Basin there's quite a few leases across that area. This is off the Office of Coal Seam Gas website, these maps, so they're readily available. If we have a look at groundwater and we have a look at the concerns around groundwater when you're talking about coal seam gas, you can break it down into quantity. So reduced levels or reduced pressures that potentially impact access or increase pumping costs. So that's a volumetric concern. And then you've got a quality concern. So risks to groundwater quality, either through the drilling process itself or from produced water sitting on the surface. So if you think of all the concerns that people might have about groundwater, they come under one of those headings. So this presentation will look at both of those things separately. We'll start with quantity and we'll go through that, and then we'll have a look at quality after that. But before we go, let's consider a couple of the groundwater basics. This diagram is a very simplified block diagram of a generic catchment within a sedimentary basin. You can see the geological layers and different coal mining types, both longwall and open cut, are shown here, and also the coal seam gas activities represented by the deeper wells. The diagram also shows some typical groundwater flow, that is, groundwater movement through rock. Rainfall in the catchment either runs off to streams or infiltrates the ground, and some of that infiltrated water, or recharge as we call it, will form flow systems. Some will be local and some will be regional. Local flow systems are depicted here as springs, and the time frame for these are short, being weeks, months or seasons, and the water is typically fresh. Regional flow systems are depicted here in the deeper layers and are typically over time frames of centuries or millennia and are generally saline. Long flow paths allow groundwater to pick up salts or other elements from the rocks themselves, hence why the deep regional groundwater systems naturally contain high concentrations of salts and other elements. One thing to note here is that the operation of a coal seam gas well does not draw the water table down to depth. Coal seam gas wells dewater the target and deeper coal seams. The overlying geology will remain saturated and the water table will still exist at the surface. The reason for this is that groundwater in these deep regional systems moves very slowly, and vertical flow is quite restricted due to low permeability layers such as shales and clay stones that typically occur within sedimentary basins. Other groundwater users within the catchment are depicted by the irrigation bores that generally target alluvial aquifers that are relatively shallow, typically 50 to 100 metres, and stock and domestic bores that are generally scattered across catchments but also tend to target the shallow weathered rocks and alluvial systems. The coal seam gas industry targets the deeper coal seams that are hundreds and sometimes over 1,000 metres below the surface and are part of old regional flow systems that are generally not accessed for groundwater supply.